Am I a funny YouTuber yet? Nah, man, I'm not doing this shit. Hi! I made an animated music video and people seem to like it. Or not. I don't know. All I know is that it's a big number. Or it's not for you, it is for me, so shut the fuck up. So since a lot of people have been asking me how I made it, because I drew and animated the whole thing alone in 9 months, I was like, why not show it to everybody, how I made it? If you're into design or drawing or digital drawing, but you want to like bring your characters to life, then watch this video. Disclaimer. By all fucking means, I'm not an expert. If you know a lot more about this topic, don't watch this video, okay? You know all the things I'm going to be talking about now. This is for people that have no idea how to start and how to animate anything or digital draw. So if you know anything about these topics, leave. Thanks. After deciding the whole visual theme for my album, which is digital drawn lines, symbols, and painting stuff, I was like, this is the perfect time for me to actually make an animated music video, or at least a visualizer that features animations in them. I ended up making the whole music video, but in the beginning, I had no idea that that's what's gonna be, and that's how it's gonna turn out. So since I've been drawing my entire life, I've only been drawing characters. I never really drew the typical house with a sun above it and little forest around or some shit, a lake. I always drew characters. This is not my time to talk about character design. If you want to, make an animated music video or like a short animatic or any kind of animation, obviously you will need to know what kind of characters to design. In animation, when it comes to character design, less is more. And that's what you can see in my video. It's just a body, a head, sometimes a neck, 2 limbs. No, actually 4. I'm sorry, I'm dumb. So 4 limbs and that's it. Maybe a tail or wings, some shit like that, and a cap or some hair that can wiggle around. That's it. If you draw something more complicated, there's no way that you're going to be able to animate that. For example, like if your character has a lot of fur on it. I mean, I'm pretty sure some of you would be able to animate that. I can't, so I didn't, But it's a general rule of thumb with animation that, simple shapes for characters. Something else I'm not going to be talking about is story writing. I'm not a writer and, I only write lyrics. But I found that the more stuff you write, the better you become. So I guess that's where you should start with. But again, we're here to learn about digital drawing and animation, so let's get into that. So I assume you can draw. If not, keep practicing, you'll get there. But after you've been drawing for a while on paper, called traditional drawing, for your best results for animation, you should go digital. And for that, I purchased this Trust drawing pad. It's super cheap. There are a lot of greater alternatives out there, and I think this is such an old shit that they are not selling this anymore. If they do, I'll link a description down below. If you start out, look for something cheap as this. It does the job perfectly. The pen is a little bit bulky, but you get used to it after a while. Something else you'll need to get used to is to transition from traditional drawing to digital drawing, because it's not the same. You need to learn how to handle the pen, how to handle layers and shit like that. But that took me a couple of weeks only, so not a big deal. I prepared some, entry-level drawings or practice drawings before I went into animation. So those are the ones that you can see now. When I felt like I'm pretty comfortable with still images, then I transitioned to moving them around and learning how to separate every body part, use layers to have shadows on them, and little shit. I used Photoshop to draw because that's the software that I'm most comfortable with. Usually when you buy a drawing tablet, it comes with the software. This one came with one too, but some of the programs I've seen that are free for drawing don't let you make your own brush presets. Photoshop does let you do that. If you're looking for an alternative, I recommend GIMP. I also tried that one as well. It's free. You can make your own brushes there, but it's good for starting off, I guess. Before you start making any visual media, especially a feature-length animation, a good thing to do is to storyboard it. For actual writers, it takes months to make and draw every single scene of the storyboard for a show, for example. Now, I didn't have time for that, okay? It already took 9 months. For me to storyboard everything would have been crazy. So I had the whole story laid out in front of my eyes. I could imagine every single scene and what the interaction is going to be between characters. If you're making a short animation, you don't need to really storyboard if you don't feel like to. But if it's a feature-length thing, now I didn't do it, so who am I to talk, right? Let's see how one scene came together, for example. As you can see, again, I said I'm not storyboarding, but I always draw a sketch the way I imagine the scene to look like, and I also add little directions for myself, like this is the first thing that is gonna happen, and then, for example, Nick, the chicken character, is gonna turn around and be startled, be surprised. I usually use a like a template from a previous scene that I've created to draw every single body part separately on different layers. For me, I like to draw every single scene separately. Some people like to duplicate the characters or the backgrounds and shit like that. I don't like to do that. I want it to be a little bit more immersive, I guess. I wanted it to look a little bit more traditional. After, like, we have the general shape of the head, the general shape of the body, I use the sketch to continue everything else. For example, as you can see here, the legs. Every single body part that will be moved will have to be on a different layer. Here I draw the second face that Nick is gonna make, because in the first one he faces away from us, so I will only have to add a little beak. And then comes coloring. I color everything separately because they're gonna be moved together with the outline of that specific body part, and also the shadows and the little features that the characters have. It's very important to note to use color palettes. Without color palettes, you're gonna be cooked. Your entire project can be thrown out to the trash. I'm using Coolers for this. It's a really cool website where you can switch between colors and you can lock the colors, so the next color will always be corresponding or be fitting to that color that you've already chosen. And that's how every character has its own color and they are fit together. Obviously, layer management is very important here. As you can see, the arm that is behind the body needs to be below the body layer, so it doesn't show up in front of it, because that's not how things work in real life. You wouldn't be able to see my arm here if it's behind me. For Nick's eyes, I'm using a brush, so it looks like he's kind of drunk. I don't know, maybe it doesn't look like he's drunk. Then come shadows. Again, on different layers. I usually use the base color of the character, and then I choose a little bit darker tone of that. And obviously you're gonna need to know where your light source come from. So in this particular scene, eyewitnesses find Nick above the dead body. So the people come out of the bar. That's why the shadows are on the right side of Nick's body. The chicken is called Nick, okay? And after the shadows, I just added a little bit of freckles, or I call them freckles, but they're really just missing feathers on top of Nick. Again, different layer. The scene you just saw was pretty easy to draw because there's not a lot of animation that's happening, not a lot of movement. I think I should show you a scene where traditional animation and flash animation kind of comes together, because the whole video is kind of like in the middle of the two. Traditional being drawing every single frame separately. That's how old cartoons were made. And Flash is the one that is more prominent here, because the body is not in the character's body, but anything that you want to move will be moved in space between timestamps, keyframes. So in this one, again, coloring and outlines, different layers and shit like that, but we're gonna need a lot of arms here, because in this scene, Nick is going to be looking at the damaged unicorn and gonna be like, I don't get it. God, how many fucking arms are here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 different arms needed to be drawn for this scene, and 2 palms. Here's a very short mention about background design. Again, start off with a sketch, know what you want to portray, be a little bit experimental about it. As you can see here, I kind of distorted the background on purpose. It's kind of like bent, if that makes sense. I didn't want to use an effect to do that because that would have looked artificial, I think. When it comes to background, I always take the colors from the previous scene that was used, depending on where we are in the video, of course. But if it's a scene that was shot outside, then you need to use the same colors all the time and the same shadows, and depending on where the camera is, you need to pay attention to the lighting. So when it comes to the animation part, I'm using After Effects. I don't really know an alternative for that. Maybe Blender could be good. I've heard really great things about it. I have no idea how to use that software. I know After Effects, so I'm using that. So remember how I said that you need to draw everything on a separate layer? When you finish the drawing, you're gonna merge the layers by body part. So normally you're gonna have an outline of the head, the color of the head. Let's not talk about facial features, forget that. Just the plain simple outline, color, shadow, and maybe little stuff like freckles, done. And then you merge all the layers, those 4 or 3, to make one. Just the head, and you will call it the head. You're gonna move that with the color, with the shadows in space when it comes to After Effects. Now we don't have like 100 layers as normally one character would have in Photoshop. Now we only have like 25 to 50, depending on, again, what the character is. Then everything gets parented. The head gets parented to the body. If a character has a tail, that gets parented to the body. Ears get parented to the head, eyes as well. Parenting means that when you move stuff in space, all the parented stuff is going to move with it. So my ears are parented to my head so that when I move the head, the ears move with it. Basically, that's the whole thing. And as you can see here, we're gonna animate that exact scene that I just showed you before, where Nick goes, I have no idea, and then closes the door. Again, we use like 6 different arms that needed to be drawn, separate ways of lifting it up, and to cross the bridge between every single frame. So I'm not drawing like every single one. I'm using a tool in After Effects called Puppet Tool. And then, you know, there are just general animation rules that you need to abide by. The body needs to be always fluid, like it's a squishy character, you know? When a character gets scared, for example, it's gonna like jump, but it's gonna land back down after that, you know? As you can see here, he's like, what? There's this jump in it that needs to happen. And obviously there is a little bit of a delay between the head and the body. In real life, it's also like your neck is not stiff all the time, so it's a little bit over exaggerated, but you get the point. And then here's the scene finished, I guess. What a guy. Here's another example of character creation, I guess. Here's the dude that I drew, I don't know, I think in class, thinking about like who's gonna be the eyewitness in the story. Came up with this B dude. After finalizing his look on paper, I started sketching him up, and the eye person as well, this eye creation. And then everything starts over, you know, every single limb on a different layer, every color, every shadow. It's all the same for 9 months. And now you could ask, like, dude, okay, this is all cool and well, but how do you make stuff move? Those are called keyframes. And the way that goes is that the walking motion, when the legs are covered up, which is the easiest one, you don't need to animate the legs, that's the best. It's just up and down, maybe depending on the character, like what kind of walk do you imagine it to have. That up and down motion just needs to be duplicated with the keyframes. When it comes to mouth, like speech, when a character talks to someone else, it's just a lot of mouth variations that you can come up with and just switching them on and off constantly, like cutting the scene and then having a new mouth ready whenever the previous one was cut. That's not hard either. So there you have it. It's not that difficult. It's a really cool skill to learn. So my fucking camera stopped recording mid-video, and I'm not gonna reshoot this. You're just gonna hear my voice, my lovely, lovely voice over some video. I have no idea if anybody is watching this right now, like here, you made it this far. I have no idea what you're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. So that's cool. Thanks for being here, I guess. I'm not gonna be making any more videos like this. So don't subscribe, don't like. This is a one-off. I don't even know if I'm gonna upload this shit, okay? If you're here, chances are you saw the music video already. So thanks for watching that. You're really cool. Okay, bye.